30th Anniversary Tour.
You just call my name.
An Awakening Foundation event.
For centuries, gold and silver have protected wealth through war, recession, inflation, and economic upheaval. At Advantage Gold, we specialize in helping you move your IRA or eligible 401k into physical gold or silver, tax-free and penalty-free. When you call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000, for a limited time, you could receive up to $10,000 in precious metals when you open your qualified gold IRA with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Call 800-900-8000.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Existing home sales edged higher in May, up 0.8%. Stubbornly high mortgage rates and rising prices made home buying less affordable, even as the inventory of properties on the market continued to increase. It was the slowest sales pace for the month of May going back to 2009, when the market was still reeling from a housing crash. The Ford Motor Company is recalling nearly 200,000 electric Mustangs because the door latches could falter, potentially trapping passengers in the back seat. It affects model years 2021 to 2025. Stocks rallied by nearly 1% today. The Dow Industrials gained 375 points. The Nasdaq rose 184, and the S&P 500 was up by 57. Oil prices tumbled on hopes that Iran will not disrupt the global flow of crude. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Greg Clugston.
News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We're clear this evening with a low temperature dipping down to 73. Tomorrow, blazing hot. 100 as the high to go with a feels like of 108. Mostly sunshine-filled skies, and the heat continues all week long. Highs in the upper 90s throughout the weekend. Our best chance of rain, late afternoon on Wednesday. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, well, put a bow on it. The athletic season in South Carolina now officially over. How you feeling? Are you feeling relieved that it's over? Are you sorry that it's over? It's over because the last team standing in our state, Coastal Carolina baseball, came up short against LSU, as you well know, in the College World Series. What a great year for Coastal Carolina. What a fight they put up. And what a controversial game it was yesterday in Omaha, controversy that certainly should not have taken place. I think we can all agree, Chris Bergen, that what happened on the field in the bottom of the first inning should not have taken place. I am one of those who believes, like with baseball, and I can't wait to talk with Chad Holbrook about this at 7:35. You know, there are rules in place. There are rules in place, and it's clear as a coach, head coach, assistant coach, player, they give you very little wiggle room, I think, when it comes to arguing balls and strikes and check swings and hit by pitch. When you go after an umpire over any of those three, if that's the direct conversation, you're going to get tossed, and there's going to be a suspension related to that. The big question is, with what happened yesterday at Coastal Carolina, is that indeed what transpired? Did the umpire just simply overreact and do something that wasn't necessary? Not even people like to say, well, it's a championship matchup. It's a championship series. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that if it's the first game of the season, if indeed what supposedly was said by Coach Schnall was said, which is, you know, you missed the first three or something like that. So that certainly dominated conversation for much of that game, even though LSU played just so well and pitched so well all the way through, and Coastal made kind of a little bit of a late run there to make it interesting. But you got to tip the cap to LSU. We knew they had great pitching, Chris, going in. You had to kind of hope that Coastal could find some offense somewhere, and they just couldn't find enough offense.
I was dead wrong, Phil. I really thought Coastal would finish this thing off despite facing LSU. And I'll get to Coach Snow in just a second because I don't know how big a bearing it actually had on the game itself, and that's part of the problem I have with this whole scenario is it takes away, to LSU's credit, what we saw from Cade Anderson on Saturday night and what we saw from Anthony Ianson yesterday. I mean, those two guys, I think, recorded somewhere in the neighborhood of about 45 to 46 outs. 19 were strikeouts. I mean, they were terrific on the mound, and LSU deserved to win it. They were the better team, and Coastal really struggled in runners in scoring position situations. They couldn't get a hit when they needed it, and it's so rare because that's what they had done all season long, but it should not overshadow what was the best, at least in terms of record, best season in the history of Coastal baseball. Now, you can argue, was the 2016 season better? And I think the answer is probably yes, because they finished the deal and won the national championship. But to Angel Campos and what occurred in the bottom of the first inning for a moment, I really agreed with what Kevin Snall had to say afterwards. First off, he pointed out, I was just trying to figure out what was going on. And Phil, you've been to Omaha. You know how loud that place can get. And just watching it on television yesterday, it looked like a game taking place at Alex Box Stadium in Baton Rouge. I mean, it was a huge home field advantage for LSU, so it was extremely loud. And I don't think he could understand what Angel Campos was trying to tell him. And as he pointed out, a grown man should not shoo me. I'm 48 years old. I shouldn't be shooed by a grown man. But his comment about it's the national championship game, it's your job to manage the game with some poise, some calmness, and a little bit of tolerance. Yeah, did Kevin Snall go over the line? Probably so. Arguing balls and strikes, that's a no-no. We understand that. But, yeah, I mean, just get him off the field and continue on. To toss he and the first base coach, Matt Schilling, in the bottom of the first inning of a championship game, I think it went way over bounds. And, unfortunately, that's the story. And if you were watching college baseball, I think it hurts the sport too, Phil. If you're a novice and you don't watch college baseball that often and you tune in for the College World Series because these are supposed to be the two best teams, that's the impression you get. It's a clown show. And I think it hurt the sport yesterday and the NCAA. And I'll go back to something I've talked about for years, Phil. Angel Campos should have been in the postgame press conference yesterday to explain himself. He may have been able to explain exactly what happened and everybody would understand. But since there's no accountability for officials and umpires because they never have to face the media to answer those questions, we're just left to speculate on what we saw.
Yeah, absolutely. That would have been a great opportunity. Then, of course, you had the little buffoon moment where another umpire came running in and tripped, and they accused Schnall of making contact with him and knocking him over. I mean, you're right. It became a clown show, and for a championship-level event, you want to avoid that. I understand that officiating at all levels, Super Bowl all the way through the College World Series, can become an issue that kind of takes over conversation of a ball game, and it really shouldn't. It should be about those players, those coaches, and what's going on the field. I do think the umpire had a very, very quick hook in this particular case and should have turned a deaf ear. I hate it. Yeah. I do hate it when umpires turn and look into a dugout looking for something, and sometimes I've seen it in Major League Baseball where it's a fan shouting something from behind a dugout. The umpires look into a dugout, they see somebody's mouth moving, and they toss that guy. They don't have any proof. They don't know where exactly it came from. They just think they heard something. That's not good enough. Thinking you heard something is not good enough. If you're not 100% sure, you need to turn a deaf ear to it and let it move on and umpire the baseball game.
Could you imagine last night, Game 7 of the NBA Finals, about 3 minutes into the first quarter, they tossed Rick Carlisle with the Indiana Pacers?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right.
It's unfathomable to think.
Actually, during that game, I think it was in the fourth quarter, the game was pretty much in hand, but there was still a little bit of a fighting chance by the Pacers, and he was on the officials. He was hot from the sideline, and then during a timeout, he really got over in the face of the official. The official let it go. I mean, he listened. He let it go. Maybe he didn't cross that magic line. You know, there's that line. I guess every official has that line you cannot cross. He never crossed that line, I guess, apparently, and they didn't boot him. You know, they made him suffer through the end there. So, anyway.
Well, here's the other question I would ask, too, about what we saw yesterday, and then we'll move on. You can hear from Coach coming up a little bit later on here on Sports Talk. Could you have imagined, had the roles been reversed, and that had been Jay Johnson coming out of the LSU dugout, and they'd have tossed him and their first base coach in the top of the first inning? That place, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the officials would have gotten out of there.
Are you alleging that they're influenced by their surroundings and also, let's face it, Kevin Schnall, a rookie coach, in his first College World Series championship game series in that capacity as a head coach, been there, of course, as an assistant coach, versus a guy who's already won a national championship. And you mentioned the fact that so many LSU fans were there. Are you saying they're influenced by who they're dealing with and what their surroundings are?
Well, I'm just speculating what would have happened because it didn't. Jay Johnson, they had no reason to argue with the officials, but had the shoe been on the other foot, I'd have found it really hard to believe that they would have tossed Jay Johnson from that game in the first inning. Unless, I mean, the only thing I could say is unless he believed that Jay Johnson was addressing balls and strikes and he thought he heard something. Obviously, he thought he heard something from Kevin Schnall related to addressing his calls behind the plate and felt like that violates the rule book. And it's pretty much black and white, and everybody knows that follows college baseball. They do their best. They enforce that, I think, and that's why Chad Holbrook will be such a valuable commodity for us coming up here at 7:35 to bounce this off of him. I mean, they enforce that rule pretty strictly, do they not? From the very beginning of the season all the way to the end? You just cannot go out and argue with an umpire over balls and strikes. No, and that's probably
without risking getting tossed.
Yeah, and that's probably what got Kevin Schnall in trouble to begin with, because we all saw the video when he came out and said, "You've already missed 3." That was probably the last straw there. But the problem I had moving forward is the issue you pointed out about him bumping the umpire. Well, it's fairly obvious the guy tripped over himself. And he should not. He should not get an additional 2-game suspension for that, because now you're looking at Kevin Schnall and Matt Schilling both missing the first weekend of the college baseball season.
That's right. And with Coastal where they are now, you wonder, will that I guess they'll still be hosting their tournament, which is usually –
I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Usually has some good teams from the Midwest, Big Ten teams, and maybe West Virginia comes down. Those teams love to come down and play at baseball at the beach. So, I mean, they'll be facing some good opponents to open that season, no question about it. So, we'll hear from Coach Schnall from yesterday. Chad Holbrook at 7:35. South Carolina basketball coach will join us, not join us, but he'll join us via audio tape. He had a press conference today in Columbia to talk about his team here at the early part of the summer. And, of course, they have been practicing some. So he's getting a look at a team that has 11 newcomers. Not all of them are able to practice right now. Not all of them are in. As he said today, they are without Michi Johnson right now, who's dealing with a little bit of a back issue. You have to worry about that because backs are a funny thing, are they not? Backs are a funny thing. I don't know exactly. He didn't go into detail about what the back issue is, but backs can be a funny thing. They got to keep an eye on that. And also one of the transfers, Christ Essendoko, is not with the team yet. Hung up in some international travel issues or whatever the situation might be. So a team with 11 newcomers and only 3 returnees, Miles Studi, Jordan Butler, and Cam Scott. And, of course, we had Cam on with us last week, and he did a great job in that interview, and he was pretty direct in talking about what was kind of a lost season for him last season. And Lamont Paris addresses that in his comments. You'll hear that tonight. He addresses that. About the high expectations for Cam Scott and kind of trying to separate what is what is an expectation that's placed on somebody versus what is reality that person can bring to a program right away. So, in other words, rankings and how rankings can misidentify a person and give people the wrong indication of what to expect from a player. And especially it's hard when you're a 5-star recruit as identified by recruiting services. It's hard to hide from that in college basketball. I mean, it's maybe not as hard in football because you got so many other players around you, and you can right. And there's the transition usually from high school to college that they give you a little bit of a break. Not in basketball. You come in as a so-called high 4-star or 5-star guy, you're expected to be a takeover player, and there's nowhere to hide on that bench, and people see you sitting on that bench and not getting off. So that that surprised a lot of people, but he addressed that in his comments. So we'll bring that to you tonight.
Well, and Cam's problem is twofold. Not only was he coming in with high expectations, he's a local kid, and the fans know him from his high school days. Gamecock fans also saw how talented he was in high school. They come in with a bright future, you hope, at USC. The expectations on him greatly enhanced because he's a local product. And interesting that both Cam talked about it and certainly the coach talks about it today. So you hope, just for Cam's sake, that he turns out to have a really, really good season this year. And back to the Esendoko situation, Phil, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds in politics, but with the current situation in the United States, with us cracking down on international travel and foreigners coming into the country, you wonder how difficult it's going to be for international players to continue to obtain and also be able to continue to play here in the United States with a visa, because evidently that's one of the issues with Christ Esendoko is getting his visa.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. The other big news today is that 3 from our state of South Carolina selected to the College Baseball Hall of Fame. We'll go into more detail, but Ray Tanner and Kip Balknight from South Carolina become the first two from that program to be inducted selected for induction February 12th into the College Baseball Hall of Fame by the College Baseball Foundation. Now, the Hall of Fame's been around for about 20 years, started in 2006. So, first 2 from South Carolina. Chris Benson from Clemson is also going in. He's the 3rd Tiger to be selected behind Bill Wilhelm, and Rusty Atkins is in the Hall of Fame. So that's a huge honor for those 3. We're going to try and get them on the show maybe throughout the week if we can connect and hear from them. But great honor for all of those 3. Congratulations to each. They all brought so much to their programs and to the state of South Carolina and helped make the baseball here in South Carolina, the state of South Carolina, help make it what it is.
Is there a waiting period criteria? I mean, I would have thought that Kip Balknight would have been an automatic slam dunk along with Chris Benson and obviously Ray Tanner. Mm-hmm. I just wonder, do you have to be out of the game for X number of years? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I really don't. I didn't even know that they had a College Baseball Foundation, College Baseball Hall of Fame.
I wasn't sure I did either.
I guess I should have known because Bill Wilhelm's in it and Rusty Atkins is in it, but I don't know. I have to go back and look and see when they went in. So that's quite an honor for all of them. All right, we got a lot in recruiting. We're going to get to that early coming up. Danny Odom, who was a Clemson target, committed to Nebraska a little while ago. I'm not so sure. I mean, he's a quality player for sure and a decent guy. I've talked to him before. But I don't know, man. I have skepticism about high school players who have agents and agents who run things for them, and this kid did that. So maybe Clemson's better off moving on to somebody else. All that's coming up. Be right back.
When I grew up, I want to be a nurse. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a teacher.
There's never been a better time to start making their dreams come true. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to save for their future education. Contributions are tax deductible, earnings are tax free, and you can start saving right now with any amount. Go to futurescholar.com today to discover the smart, easy way to save for college. That's futurescholar.com.
Are you in the market for an auto loan? Move now Get an auto loan from Founders Federal Credit Union now through October 31st, and you'll be entered to win up to $25,000 toward your qualifying auto loan and a $5,000 deposit into your Loyalty Select account. Loyalty Select is our highest yield savings account. Leave it there to grow or transfer it out to spend. And the best part? We'll be choosing monthly winners. So the earlier you get your auto loan, the more chances you have to win. So don't wait. Visit foundersfcu.com/auto to learn more or begin your auto loan application today. Not a Founders member yet? Visit us online or stop by an office to learn more about Founders and see if you qualify for membership. We have the financial tools you'll need and the personalized service you deserve. Relax, you're with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required.
These are the days when you wish your bed was already made. It's just another manic Monday. Wish it was Sunday.
Indeed, Manic Monday on Sports Talk in the summertime. We've got about 3 weeks of nothingness. About 3 weeks. SEC Media Days, if my calendaring is right. SEC Media Days begins July 14th, which I think is 3 weeks from Monday, right? So,
thank goodness for American Legion Baseball.
American Legion Baseball. Update that tomorrow night with Chris Dorsey. And thank goodness that somebody got to the championship series of the College World Series, because that eats up.
There's no doubt.
That eats up the summertime, man. That eats up the summertime. Our poll question of the week presented by Larry Lucas Insurance. Call Larry at 803-799-1998 for all your insurance needs. Who is, this is probably the easiest question we've ever had, who is the college baseball coach of the year in South Carolina? College baseball coach of the year. The 4 nominees in alphabetical order are Eric Bakich, Preston McDonald, Kevin Schnall, and Kane Sweeney. I mean, obviously, all 4 did really good jobs with their teams this year. 2 of them got to the College World Series at their particular level, you know? So think about that. But I think that we all know what's going to come out of this. You can vote on our X page, which is SC Sports Now. You can also vote by clicking on the question on our website, sportstalksc.com. We also post the question on Facebook. You can see it there and click on the link and go and vote for it. Vote on it there as well. Okay. Phone calls. Yes, we'll take a bunch of phone calls tonight. Love to get your thoughts on what went down with Coastal Carolina. And also moving forward, kind of talk about the athletic season as a whole in South Carolina, about who fared well, who didn't fare as well, who had a good overall athletic year, highs and lows. We'll have plenty of time to break it all down over the next 3 weeks. Actually, Bergie, you'll be on vacation starting Friday, so you'll be gone for a week. Then I'm gone for 2 weeks. Starting next week. I'll need the 2 weeks to recover from my cough. So we won't have all that much time to talk about it, at least us. But Matt Smith will be here next week, coming out of the bullpen as he does so well. And then you'll be back with Smitty. Then I'll be back.
Correct.
When we get ready to go to SEC Media Days in Atlanta and then ACC Media Days in Charlotte. And then the high school coaches convention up in Greenville will be there for that. So we're going to come back rested and tanned and slimmer and trimmer and ready to go. And we'll have plenty to be jumping into. Let's go to the phones, 888-898-2525. Bruce in Missouri, good to have you with us. Welcome in.
Well, thank you, Phil, for taking my call so early. Just had to get in here. Yeah, I'm a Clemson fan, and I'd be doggone if I wasn't going to pull for Coastal Carolina for what they had done with all the winnings they had in a row. It's just amazing what they had did all this year. And they made it to the final. And so I'm on a call every day except Sunday. It's a law call about being a national, and the guy that's over it went to LSU, and he talked about all about LSU on Friday, about how they're going to win the game and all this stuff, and how good they are. But he also, talked about Coastal Carolina, and he said, Bruce, what you think about what's going to happen? I said, Coastal Carolina's going to beat them. That's all I had to say. So Monday comes along, and I get on the call, and he rags about, how LSU did this and LSU did this, and all the, this is their number so-and-so game they won the national championship. And he said, Bruce, what you think? And I said, I'm going to be their lawyer. This is a law call every week. I mean, every day, except Sunday. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm going to defend them because what happened to them was wrong. It was totally wrong. And they need to clear this up. And I said, well, the first game, they held like great LSU with the one run, the whole game. And then they come out and try to catch up with them, with the first baseman coach and the head coach. I said, they did a great job without those two guys, main guys on the team. And something ought to be done about it. I was pissed off. Anyway, I think it was unfair. It was too quick of a decision. I mean, that wasn't a professional a team of umpires. The first baseman got kicked out, too, the coach.
Yeah. I think that, and thank you for your phone calls. Great hearing from you. I think that hopefully, and we'll ask Chad Holbrook about this if this is possible, that they'll look at this again. NCAA baseball officials will look at this again. I know Chance Miller put out a statement last night expressing his dismay. They'll look at this and at the very least rescind the suspensions. Don't you think that should be on the table?
Probably not going to get the suspension rescinded for Matt Schilling, but I think definitely the two additional games that would be coming to Kevin Snall for bumping the umpire certainly should be rescinded.
Yeah, exactly. At least that, but I think maybe the whole deal. Be right back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We're clear this evening with a low temperature dipping down to 73. Tomorrow, blazing hot. 100 as the high to go with a feels like of 108. Mostly sunshine-filled skies, and the heat continues all week long. Highs in the upper 90s throughout the weekend. Our best chance of rain, late afternoon on Wednesday. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life with Spa MD, your sanctuary of rejuvenation. Feel the tension melt away as our expert team guides you through your customized wellness journey. From soothing massages to revitalizing treatments, we promise a remarkable experience that leaves you feeling renewed and empowered. Discover the calm within every visit. Reach out at 251-9400 or online at visitspamd.com to explore your options. Your oasis of tranquility awaits.
This is an SRN News special report, a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump says on social media that Israel and Iran have agreed to a complete and total ceasefire to be phased in over 24 hours. The U.S. president said late Monday on Truth Social that the ceasefire would bring an official end to the war, a major change in the hostilities that follows a U.S. strike over the weekend on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Trump says, on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will, I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. Again, a ceasefire has been announced by President Trump between Israel and Iran. This has been an SRN News special report.
Hey, it's Kev. I'm hanging out with Ken, the owner of Broker Solar, a local company. Now, Ken, I know you have some solar pet peeves. These national guys, they're just not very honest.
One of the common myths in the solar industry is that you can get solar for free or some kind of government-paid solar, and that's simply not the truth. What you can get is a solid investment that has tax credits that will pay you back for years to come. That's one of the things that we promote at Broker Solar is proper education in what solar is and how you can take advantage of the incentives that are out there, local and federal.
Tell me more about these tax credits.
There's currently a huge federal tax credit that gets you a third of the system cost back. And on top of that, the state of South Carolina, we're lucky enough to have an extra 25% of that solar system cost come back to you in the form of tax credits, totaling for a 55% discount on your solar system back in tax credits.
Call Broker Solar. Call them now, 803-807-7417 or online, brokersolar.com.
What's better than getting the best Wagyu and Hereford beef anywhere in these parts and getting it delivered to your door? How about knowing you're still supporting local farmers in Saluda over at H&J Cattle, where tradition meets quality? Visit HandJCattle.com. Place your order for $50 or more, get free delivery in Richland or Lexington County. Plus, Point listeners get 10% off your order. Enter keyword The Point as one word for your discount. HandJCattle.com.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Whether it's becoming a teacher, dentist, or engineer, every child deserves the chance to chase their dreams. Investing in a child's education with Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan, can help turn those big dreams into next steps. So don't wait. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at FutureScholar.com.
Are you in the market for an auto loan? Move now. Get an auto loan from Founders Federal Credit Union now through October 31st, and you'll be entered to win up to $25,000 toward your qualifying auto loan and a $5,000 deposit into your Loyalty Select account. Loyalty Select is our highest yield savings account. Leave it there to grow or transfer it out to spend. And the best part? We'll be choosing monthly winners, so the earlier you get your auto loan, the more chances you have to win. So don't wait. Visit foundersfcu.com/auto to learn more or begin your auto loan application today. Not a Founders member yet? Visit us online or stop by an office to learn more about Founders and see if you qualify for membership. We have the financial tools you'll need and the personalized service you deserve. Relax, you're with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required.
We are back at Sports Talk Media Network on a manic Monday here in summertime in South Carolina. It is cooking out there, no question about it. It is cooking. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, and the plumber, Josh Cohen, back in our studios in Columbia. I'm coming to you from our Grand Strand studios this week, and Chris from his Bergie Palace studios. Phone number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us here on Sports Talk. And, of course, not too far down the road from me is our good friend Jimmy Smith at James Smith Real Estate. In fact, I rode past Jimmy's. I tell you what about Jimmy Smith and his people. I rode by the office there yesterday to go play a little golf, not too far from his office. And, I mean, they must have been hard at work because there were cars all over the parking lot there at James Smith Real Estate taking care of business. And they'll take care of your business. If you have not taken the time to book your vacation at the beach along the Grand Strand, then make sure you give Jimmy a call and let him help you out and put you in a great location, a great spot for a great price that fits your budget and takes care of all your people. 843-237-4246. That is 843-237-4246. Online at pauliesvacationrentals.com. Jimmy and his staff can put you in a place, Pawleys Island, Litchfield, Garden City, Surfside, Myrtle Beach, up and down the Grand Strand. They can help you out. 843-237-4246. Online at pauliesvacationrentals.com. Okay, couple of quick notes. Then we're going to hear from Coastal's folks coming off the loss to LSU that ended the baseball season for the colleges yesterday. And before we do that, a couple of updates. Chris Middleton out of Charleston. Was he a Porter Gouder? I'm trying to remember. Did he go to Porter Goud? No.
I'm not sure I've heard that term before.
A
That's
Porter
nice.
Gouder. Of course, you know
that.
His last name is the name of a former high school in Charleston, Middleton High School, which is no longer with us. I think he went to Porter Goud. Anyway, as you know, he won a ring with the Bucks. He's been with the Wizards, and they've picked up his $33.3 million player option for next season. So he will be living well. Rocco Miller.
Very well done.
Rocco Miller, who's with he's a basketball writer, reporting, according to sources, that Georgetown and Clemson will begin a home-and-home series in basketball November 15th at the Capital One Arena, and they'll play the return game at Little John the next season. LSU, number 1, Coastal number 2 in both the D1 Baseball and Baseball America final rankings, and Clemson by D1 comes in at 23, and by Baseball America, the Tigers came in at, 24, I think, for Baseball America?
I believe that's right.
Yep. Okay.
Did you happen to see that the net rankings for baseball actually had Arkansas finish the year as the number 1 team in the country? To show you how ridiculous the net ranking is.
Yeah, that is pretty stupid. I see where you retweeted that. What does it mean? What does it matter? I mean, what is the net ranking when you don't win the championship? Coastal was number 3 for that matter, and Clemson was number 15 for that matter. But it doesn't mean anything. Okay, with that being said, let's hear from Coach Kevin Schnall. You want to lead us into what he said post-game after that tough loss yesterday to close out the season?
Well, obviously, the story of the game, unfortunately, turned out to be his and Matt Schilling's ejection in the first inning following a really, really good game on Saturday in which Cade Anderson was terrific for LSU, and quite frankly, Cameron Fluke was pretty darn good for Coastal. They won 1-0 on Saturday, and then LSU clinched its 8th national championship and the 6th in a row for the SEC. With a 5-3 win yesterday, and afterwards, after you had to watch the majority of the game back in, presumably in the locker room somewhere in the bowels of Charles Schwab Stadium, Kevin Schnall stepped up to the microphone to explain exactly what happened yesterday in the matchup with LSU.
There's 25,000 people there, and I vaguely hear a warning issued. As the head coach, I was an assistant for 24 years, and as an assistant, you're almost treated like a second-level citizen, and you can't say a word. Now, as a head coach, I think it is your right to get an explanation of why we got warned. And I'm 48 years old. I shouldn't get shooed by another grown man, right? So when I come out to ask what the warning is, a grown man shooed me. So at that point, I can now hear him say, it was a warning issued for arguing balls and strikes. And at that point, I said, because you missed 3. At that point, ejected. If that warrants an ejection, I'm the first one to stand here like a man and apologize. 2 words that define our program are own it. And what does that mean is you have to own everything that you do without blame, without defending yourself, without excuses. If you guys watched the video, there was a guy that came in extremely aggressively, tripped over Campos's foot, embarrassed in front of 25,000, immediately goes 2-game suspension and said, bumping the umpire. Immediately does that. There was no bump. He was embarrassed. I shouldn't be held accountable for a grown man's athleticism. We'll retract it, though, because now it's excessive. And the reason why it was excessive, because I was trying to say I didn't bump him. It is what it is. But if that warranted an ejection, man, there'd be a lot of ejections. As an umpire, I feel like it's your job to manage the game, the national championship game, with some poise, some calmness, and a little bit of tolerance.
Coach, just to follow up, obviously that was a supercharged first inning, and it seemed like your team was able to settle in. I mean, obviously you're still watching the game. What did you see from the way that your club responded to kind of the emotions of the start of that game?
It ended up being 5-3. You got to give their pitcher credit. The breaking ball was pretty good. There's a reason why he has so many strikeouts, and we were just expanding the zone a little bit too much. That said, we got a couple good swings, and we were right there in it. We just couldn't get enough swings. I mean, it just came down to we kept getting guys on base. We just couldn't deliver enough hits, and a lot of that, you got to give them credit. Their pitchers threw very well.
Coach, just I guess on a more positive note, the just the run you guys made here. You set a couple records for winning streaks going into the College World Series, going into the Championship Series, and just kind of what the team accomplished to get here and to get into that Championship Series in the first place.
Incredible, and that's why I feel a little gutted right now, because the talk is going to be about the ejection, not this team, and it's not right. The front row seat should be the 2025 Coastal Carolina baseball team, not what happened in the first inning.
Noah Bieniek, 11.7. Coach, you guys, Coastal Carolina played for the national championship. They lost 2 games by 3 runs. What do you want your players to remember about this year in the College World Series?
Well, they accomplished a lot. They accomplished a lot to get us just back to Omaha after what we did in 2016, and then to come to Omaha and play the way we did and get us back to the World Series finals is really incredible. And this team will go down. Unfortunately, we lost, but these two games won't define what this team was. I mean, if this team won a national championship, you could argue this was the best college baseball season in the history. I mean, I'm a little bit of a college geek, I'd go back and think about the 95 Fullerton team. I think had 9 losses. There was a Miami team there in 2000 and what was that? 2001. Miami was really good. You could put this team up if we won the national championship. I mean, this team would have been in conversation with the best season ever in college baseball. But again, these 2 losses, I don't think define it. That national championship team obviously is very special, but man, this team will hold a very special spot in my heart forever.
One thing about Kevin Schnall, Bergie, I'm not too sure how many people outside of Horry County knew who Kevin Schnall was when he became the head coach at Coastal Carolina after last season, after Gary Gilmore had retired. You had to be a real baseball fan or a fan of Coastal Carolina. Who knows the assistant coaches on a baseball staff for the most part, right? Boy, he came into this world kicking and screaming like a newborn baby. I mean, he came into his job kicking and screaming. He didn't take a back seat to anybody, and he on the biggest stage of his sport. I mean, he stood out. He stood out with his confidence in his team, his approach to the College World Series, and then in dealing with this situation yesterday. I mean, people know who Kevin Schnall is now.
Oh, there's with that no doubt at all. I was actually on a Southern Miss radio show out of Hattiesburg earlier today, and they were asking me, did Coastal fans anticipate this kind of season? And I said, no, I'm not sure anybody anticipated they win 58 ball games or 56 ball games rather, and have a chance to win 58 and go on a 26-game winning streak. And did you anticipate that Kevin Schnall will be this solid in his first year? But the one advantage he had, and it's almost like the Chad Holbrook situation at South Carolina, exactly the same. I mean, Kevin Snow was the recruiting coordinator under Gary Gilmore for a long, long time, Phil, so he knew every single one of those players that came in. It was not like bringing in Paul Maneri and a new staff to have to figure out the players they have on the roster. He knew them frontwards and backwards. He knew what he had, and if you watched them play and you didn't know this year and you watched the tape from last year, you'd think, okay, this is the same team. And they played similarly. So he walked into a perfect situation, one he helped create. And this is not going anywhere. This is not going to be a situation where he wins 56 games this year and they only win about 35 next year. Now, in fairness, they're going to lose some outstanding players off that team, and they're going to have to replace them. But Kevin Stahl is a darn good baseball coach, and he understands exactly what it takes to win at Coastal. And from what he said before, sort of hinting at it, they've got the resources to maintain where they are right now. Do they get back to the CWS Championship Series next year? Who knows? I wouldn't bet against them, though.
Do you think, now that he is a high-profile coach, look, I don't know how many what's left out there. I don't think there are any jobs out there at this particular time that would draw his interest. I mean, whatever big-time positions that were open are filled now. But, I mean, there will be openings. And, of course, Gary Gilmore was sought after during his time at Coastal, always chose to stay. Of course, Kevin played at Coastal, and he's got obviously family and very deep ties. But you just wonder now in the future what will happen from the standpoint of Coastal trying to hold on to him as bigger schools will no doubt come after him probably after next year, after some SEC programs or ACC programs end up making a change, because they know now who he is. And they saw, this season unfold and saw how good this team was, how fundamentally sound this team was, how well-developed a pitching staff this team had.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any doubt somebody's going to come after him. I think it would have to be a really, really good opportunity, and I don't know what that is to pry him out of Coastal. I mean, he's been there forever, left for a couple of seasons to be an assistant coach at South Florida, I think, and then came back. But otherwise, I mean, he's been in Conway and at Coastal Carolina since the 90s when he played. I mean, this is a guy who you cut him open, much like Gary Gilmore, he's going to bleed teal, black, and bronze. So I don't see, and you never say never, but I don't see a job that would lure him away, much the way, Auburn made a really strong push, I think, at Coach Gilmore many, many years ago, and he said no and stayed because he wanted to build the program to where it is now. And I think that's the situation now. Now that he's gotten a taste of Omaha again as the head coach, I can almost guarantee you he wants to take Coastal back and win another one now, because that just whet his appetite. And there's nobody that's going to outwork that guy. I mean, it's obvious. You just listen to him talk. No one's going to outwork. He was probably trying to figure out the roster on their plane flight back to Conway today. He's already thinking. He's more than likely he's already turned the page to next season.
How many of those guys are going to be drafted? You happen to have a feel off that roster?
Boy, that's a great question. Well, I'll do the easy ones first. Obviously, Caden Bodine will be drafted. Jacob Morrison probably will be drafted. I don't know about Blake Barthel, Riley Eichhoff. Those are question marks. The outfielders, don't know. And there's so many draft rounds in the professional baseball draft. I'm sure some of them will get drafted. Now, whether or not they stick and play minor league baseball, I don't know. But clearly, Caden Bodine is going to be the first one to go. And he'll be fun to watch, just his elevation through the minor leagues, to see how quickly he makes it, because I think he's a major league catcher. And it'll be fascinating to watch to see how long it takes him once he gets drafted this year. I doubt he'll have a Paul Skeen scenario where he's already playing for the Major League club before this year ends.
Really?
But, in a couple of seasons, I don't see any reason why Caden Bodine's not a Major League catcher somewhere.
All right. Good stuff there. We'll do more on Coastal Carolina, the baseball season. These questions we've talked about. Chad Holbrook, coach at the College of Charleston. He'll take one more trip around the bases with us at 7:30. After the break, we're going to take a trip around the world of recruiting. Some might say it's a trip around the toilet bowl, but it is a trip around the world of recruiting. It's becoming more and more like a trip around the toilet bowl. But we'll have that for you coming up after the break. Don't go away.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Whether it's becoming a teacher, dentist, or engineer, every child deserves the chance to chase their dreams. Investing in a child's education with Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan, can help turn those big dreams into next steps. So don't wait. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Traveling can be the worst, especially when you can't find your favorite show. Well, don't worry. We've got the perfect way to keep up with everything happening in the Palmetto State when you're away from home. Just pull up the Chief Sports app on your mobile device, and you can listen live to Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network.
So the next time you can't find us on one of our great radio affiliates, just log on to the Chief Sports app, the best way to stay connected with the Sports Talk Media Network.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
Okay, we're into that dead period, my favorite time of the year. Dead. You can't visit, they can't visit you. Make a decision, let's move on.
Yes.
Jiminy, Christmas. Make a decision, it's crazy. However, one decision that's simple, and that is getting to Seawell's tomorrow for the daily luncheon buffet. Make sure you're there to begin the Tuesday through Friday run this week from 11 till 2 for the best buffet you'll sink your teeth in anywhere in South Carolina. When you need the best in the catering business, call Seawell's as well. Let them come out and help you with what you got going on. 803-771-7385 online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Well, we're into
Phil, unlike the dead period, you can both visit Seawell's and they can visit you.
This is correct.
Go to the buffet and have them come out to your party, your location for your catering. So Seawell's, again, trumps recruiting because there is no dead period at Seawell's.
No dead period, except when they're on vacation.
True.
Yep. Okay, so today, cornerback Danny Odom, a native of Pennsylvania who will play this season in Orlando, announced a commitment to Nebraska. He chose the Cornhuskers over Clemson, Penn State, Oklahoma, and Ohio State. He made official visits to all 5, with Nebraska getting the final. I mean, he's a big-time player, no question about it, but I was just looking at his Instagram, and he's got a guy who claims to be his agent. He goes by the name Island Baby Trent. His name is Trent Thomas, who I believe, at best I can tell, is also in high school. Trenton Thomas, awesome. Manager. On his commitment post, it's got Trenton Thomas, manager. Now, maybe this is a joke. Maybe it's a high school kid. But he puts up here, my first athlete under management will be making his decision. Tune in at 5. Of course, they didn't get it done until after 5:30. So I'm just saying, if you got a high school kid with another high school kid as a manager, are you serious? Maybe they're just funning us, but maybe best to steer away from that and try and find somebody else. Now, Clemson target running back Jay Lamar of Moultrie, Georgia, moved his commitment date up from July 4th to June 25th. That's day after tomorrow. He was at Georgia over the weekend. He's also made OVs to Auburn, Florida State, and Miami. This is who Clemson's gone all in on at running back. But Georgia's a hard pull here. You know, hard to get a guy like from Moultrie, Georgia. You know who's from Moultrie, Georgia? The home of Moultrie, Georgia? Ray Goff and others.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Hard to get them out of Moultrie, Georgia, away from Georgia. We shall see on that one. South Carolina target, cornerback Samari Matthews, Cornelius, North Carolina, moved his commitment date up from August 12th to July 11th at 7 o'clock. He plans to announce at his high school. He made his official visit to South Carolina over the weekend. Texas, Florida State, and Miami are the other officials. Seems like Texas is the putting on the big heat here. This could come down to a will it come down to a money deal or a what's in your heart deal? If it's what's in his heart, he's going to pick South Carolina because he's been there so much. They've built a strong relationship with him. If it comes down to just pure cash, he'll pick Texas. I imagine Texas will outspend to get him. We'll wait and see what happens. Timberland offensive tackle Desmond Green, who hinted at a June 26th announcement, has now confirmed a June 26th announcement at 11 o'clock. He's choosing from USC, Virginia Tech, Georgia, Florida, and Oklahoma. Made official visits to all 5. If you follow the visits, he's been to South Carolina more times than anybody else. But he's also been shown and has shown a lot of love towards Georgia and Florida. So I don't know here if this is such a slam dunk for South Carolina or not at this particular time. USC target wide receiver Travis Johnson wrapped up his officials over the weekend with a stop at North Carolina. Has a commitment date of July 4th, a tentative time of noon at a local eatery in Chesapeake, Virginia. He has also made officials to USC, Indiana, Penn State, and Michigan. He and his mother will take time this week to compare, contrast all 5 programs. All 5 schools are still in the mix, and Johnson does not plan to reduce that list anymore before making his decision. 2027 cornerback Joshua Dobson of Catawba Ridge visited Florida State over the weekend. Let's give you some more announcement dates coming up. July 2nd, USC target defensive tackle Noah Clark. On the 4th, Clemson target defensive end Bryce Perry Wright. On the 5th, Clemson target receiver Devin Fitzgerald. On the 9th, USC target safety Joel Combe. Back with more in a moment.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump says on social media that Israel and Iran have agreed to a complete and total ceasefire to be phased in over 24 hours. The president said late Monday on Truth Social that the ceasefire would bring an official end to the war, a major change in the hostilities that followed a U.S. strike over the weekend on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Trump says, quote, on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will, I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. Once again, President Trump announcing a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. A potentially life-threatening heat wave hit the east coast of the United States on Monday, with temperatures expected to climb to 104 degrees. Rehoboth Beach visitor from Massachusetts, Laura Macaluso, shares her thoughts on heat warnings.
My thoughts on the heat warnings are, you got to be careful. You got to stay hydrated and just don't stand in the sun for too long if there's any sun to be had.
The heat wave is expected to last through the end of the week. There's been an increase in abortion.
A new report finds that the number of abortions in the United States increased in 2024 as more women obtained pills through telehealth. The latest We Count project for the Society of Family Planning finds that 1 in 4 abortions uses medications prescribed by a provider who does not see the patient in person. That is up from 1 in 20 in the months before the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
On Wall Street, the Dow up by 374 points. The Nasdaq rose 183. More at townhall.com.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Third day. The original members reunited for the 30th anniversary tour, playing all the hits. With special guest Zach Williams. Tickets available Friday at awakeningfoundation.com. Third day, the 30th anniversry tour.
You just call my name.
An Awakening Foundation event.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Tesla robo-taxis have hit the streets of the electric vehicle maker's hometown.
The company has launched a test run of driverless vehicles in Austin, Texas. From a business standpoint, the bar is high. Tesla rival Waymo already operates driverless taxis in several cities and will not give up market share easily. Still, Elon Musk, who has long promised to put a fleet of driverless Tesla robo-taxis on the roads, vows to eventually corner almost the entire self-driving taxi market. Rich Thomason, Washington.
A search continues for one person still missing after 7 others were killed when a boat capsized on Lake Tahoe during a powerful weekend thunderstorm that whipped up high waves. The Coast Guard says swells of more than 8 feet were recorded around the time the 27-foot gold Chris Craft vessel flipped over Saturday afternoon. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. Texas
On-Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We're clear this evening with a low temperature dipping down to 73. Tomorrow, blazing hot. 100 as the high to go with a feels like of 108. Mostly sunshine-filled skies, and the heat continues all week long. Highs in the upper 90s throughout the weekend. Our best chance of rain, late afternoon on Wednesday. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Talk Media Network across the state on this very hot, manic Monday night in South Carolina. Great to have you with us. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen. We are all here this week, oh yeah, and the plumber, Josh Cohen. Stand by for the freshman question of the night for the soon-to-be Gamecock. Anyway, Bergie and I together this week through Thursday. Then he's going on a – what vacation number is this for you this year?
This will be number 2 of
2.
2. This will be 2 of 2.
2 and 2. Okay.
Yes. Like
and
Chuck
then,
Wooler used to say 2 and 2.
Exactly. Where did he get that from? Then I'm gone after Friday. I'm gone the next 2 weeks. So Andy will have his dream, a corn-free sports talk for 2 weeks. So Andy will probably light up the phone lines to express his opinions to Smitty. Smitty will be in the next week. Then you'll rejoin Smitty the week after. Mm-hmm. And then I'll be back. I'll be back for SEC Media Days in mid-July, and then we go to Charlotte for ACC, and then on from there. So that is what is ahead. I know everybody's heading off for vacation. If you want to, of course, find us, stay with us. If you leave the state, you don't have one of our great radio stations available, of course, find us on one of our streams, Facebook, YouTube. Sign up for YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on X. You can see us all right there. You can go to our website because the plumber, what have you done on the website? To make it easy for everybody?
You could just go on the website at the top menu bar and click Sports Talk live stream, and you can listen to the show right there without having to go to YouTube or anywhere else.
Wow, cool.
Marvelous.
Well done.
The guy's a genius back. He's a genius awesome. Behind the scenes, yep. A little sleepy sometimes, but for the most part, he's a genius.
While I was doing that, I added my name to the footer on the website, so now I'm mentioned on there.
Oh, no. That's just for talent. There's talent, and then there's behind-the-scenes operations, okay? We'll have to take a look at that. Didn't notice that. I'll have to take a look at that. Okay, Lamont Paris is coming up. Let me get back to the recruiting report because there's more on this Monday. Talking about announcements now, I've got Trey Aiken from Clinton down for July 12th. I don't know what's happened with him in South Carolina. He was supposed to take an official. He had one scheduled with South Carolina for this past weekend. Obviously, that didn't happen. So, and he has not been available, and his coach didn't know anything about what's going on. So I don't know if they've just moved on. South Carolina's moved on, and which would surprise me because he's quite a good player. Doubt. So, but he's scheduled to announce on the 12th. Now, a tight end, Tilden Riley of Orangeburg Prep, of the 7 uncommitted prospects who visited South Carolina over the weekend, he was, as of last night, the only one who had stated publicly that he's ready to make his commitment announcement this week. And I think that's still the case. Others have made some other schedules. So, offensive tackle Desmond Green, as I mentioned, who's not talking to the media until after he commits, had posted June 26th. So now he's set for June 26th. So he would be a second one who's going this week. But Riley said after his visit Sunday night that he's ready to end it. He's going to commit this week, probably. He didn't really have a day or time as of last night. He and his parents are going to be talking about things and decide. It's Virginia Tech, Vanderbilt, and South Carolina. Those are his 3. West Virginia had been in there as well. He did not end up visiting West Virginia. South Carolina tight ends coach Sean Elliott offered him in early April, and they've really pushed for him ever since, with Shane Beamer also being heavily involved. Enjoyed his visit. They tell him the people in South Carolina take care of kids from South Carolina. I think there's some truth to that. And he said they were just trying to talk about him coming in, and they said that they want him to come. They want him in the program. He's a kind of a flex tight end, a down-the-field receiver. A terrific athlete, 49 receptions, 903 yards, 13 touchdowns, also plays safety, had 4 interceptions, returned 2 for touchdowns, returns punts, returns kicks. He also plays baseball, and he plays basketball for OP. Christchurch wide receiver Jude Hall committed to Memphis on Saturday while on an official visit. He also had offers from Duke, Cincinnati, Furman, and James Madison. He was once committed to Duke. Fairfield Central receiver Jaden Boyd was offered by Duke Saturday while on an official visit, and that's the first offer he's reported. 2027 receiver Jaden Kelly Murray of Summerville was offered by Florida on Saturday while on a visit. And I think I mentioned that cornerback Joshua Dobson of Catawba Ridge visited Florida over the weekend, and he also visited Florida State over the weekend, so he went to both. And in baseball, former USC catcher Max Coffer transferring to Wichita State. Former Gamecock lefty Jackson Susie committed to Kentucky. And former right-hander for the Gamecocks Tyler Pitzer transferring to Mississippi State. Bergie, what does that tell you about what people think of these 3 players?
Yeah. Obviously, especially at a program like Mississippi State, has been down, and they don't want to stay down very long. So, yeah, it sounds like they feel like he's a darn good pitcher, and a pitcher in particular.
Well, it's a shame that South Carolina couldn't keep those two pitchers in particular. I think we saw as the playoffs moved on just how important having a deep, talented staff is to make it to the distance. I mean, let's face it, LSU was just their pitching staff was just untouchable. When you got the starters and the bullpen that they have, as good as Coastal's pitching was, LSU's was just a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, the job Cade Anderson did in a complete game in game one of the championship series, remarkable. And then you get Anthony Ianson yesterday with 9 strikeouts and 6 1/3. He had given up the 2 home runs. And then they bring in Chase Shores. And, we talked a lot during the season about how South Carolina's arms just don't stack up because of the velocity. Here's a kid that was throwing 100 consistently on the outside corner. I mean, he was unhittable. I mean, it was just watching how hard kids throw in college baseball. If you don't have somebody that can constantly stay in the mid to upper 90s, you're not going to compete. You just aren't.
Yeah, and you got to have multiple arms like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, you got to have, and you just look at those LSU pitchers, man. What are they all about? 6'5",
huge,
at about 190 pounds. I mean, they've got the body that golfers want. But it works great for pitchers as well, because of what goes into throwing a baseball. Long and lanky can really hurl it. They can really run it up there, 98, 99. This guy was hitting 100+. So, yeah, they just had great pitching. I don't know what – and the thing is, as you heard Jay Johnson say in the postgame or on television, I mean, it was a team made up of about 10 transfers and several junior college players. I mean, they built their roster as you build a roster today, and they have the huge financial commitment to do so with their baseball program. So, hats off to LSU. They are the kings of college baseball once again. Okay, that is it for recruiting tonight as well, and that is brought to you by our good friends over at Seawells. Let's go ahead and hit the break, and that way we'll clear out time for these comments from Lamont Paris, USC basketball coach, as he met with the media today in Columbia. Obviously was not able to make it because down here at the coast, but we do have his audio nonetheless, and he will update things regarding his current team, his new team, with 11 newcomers, only 3 holdovers, still has 1 scholarship to give, and he'll address that as well. You'll hear him talk about a number of different topics, but all related directly to his team. So if you want to learn about Gamecock basketball right now, stay tuned for that coming up.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
George Bryan here with Tsunami Bar Sports and some great spring golf news. If you're ready to mash your tater, I think you need a Laginator. And if you want to get more speed and crack the whip, it's time for a mini stick. So TsunamiBarSports.com, GB10 to get 10% off the Laginator and the mini stick. That's TsunamiBarSports.com, GB10 for 10% off.
Do this everywhere we go. I think you know this ain't no one-horse rodeo. I think you know when we pull up, green lights I show. I think you know that we gon' run it till we running out of road.
Hey, how about some basketball talk here in the middle of June? Of course, basketball is never ending either. They're already practicing, getting ready for the for the next season. Lamont Paris, USC coach, going into what will be his 4th year. Interesting year upcoming for him. How do we judge Lamont Paris? He's had 2 terrible years, 1 excellent year. He's counting on a bunch of newcomers to come in and get them back to get them back to the tournament. Just to say the least. Let's face it. That's what you're measured on, getting to the tournament. Here he is as he took questions from the media today at the Colonial Life Arena in Columbia, answering the first question, which was about the situation involving his roster. How do things look? Anybody not there? Anybody hurt?
Yeah, everybody's here other than one. We're still waiting on one guy that just due to some international rules and protocol, it just didn't make sense to have him here quite yet, so he'll be joining us a little bit later. That's Chris Essendoko. So, but he's working out this summer, doing some good stuff. He's been back around here a couple of times, spent some time with his teammates. Yeah, Michi is just he's had some tightness in his back, and so we just been holding him out of the workouts, and so he is maybe another couple weeks. We'll see what that looks like, but he feels good. He's at all the workouts and practices, and his voice is a very powerful voice, and he's demonstrating great leadership, even though he's not in, which was a bummer for him because he was really looking forward to getting into the drills and leading by doing. But this works well for him and for us also. With 11 newcomers on the team, is there any way to speed up the process of building team chemistry, or is that possible? We're trying to manufacture some off the court activities and scenarios that involve a combination of communication in some ways, just the proximity of being around each other more often and all the things. 2 years ago we had the trip to the Bahamas, which you can only do once every 4 years, a foreign tour, and that was extremely helpful for us. It afforded us 10 extra practices, but then more importantly than anything was just the time that we spent in transit, at the hotel. I think a couple of them were at the casinos from time to time, I heard, but I don't know how they did. But that kind of stuff is important for these guys, just to get to know each other, learn how to communicate with one another. That's a big part of it. In real, we talked about that today in today's workout. I think how to communicate with a person so that they receive the message well. And as coaches, we've had to do this too. Kids change from generation to generation. I feel like the last 3 years, it's been 2 generations worth of change. Maybe that's just because I'm getting older. But anyway, so how you communicate, how you present something, how the message hits. And so they have to learn that also, because that's one area where there's room for a ton of growth with young people. I've learned this day is how the message that they want to get across actually sounds to the person receiving it and inspires them to take that information. So we've tried to do some things. We'll have some activities that we've done. We've already done a couple. I think you've probably seen some of them on social media. Had a little cookout and pool party, and we'll do a lot of activities. Some will be smaller things. Other things we'll do a couple more significant things in the summertime to try to expedite that process. But some of it happens in the recruiting process too. Some of it is, who did you recruit? Are they receptive to this? Are they comfortable with who they are and what their role probably is going to be on your team? Or are they always trying to prove something? If you have 15 guys trying to prove something to the coaches and to one another instead of to the world, I think that's a good thing, trying to prove something to the world. But if you're trying to prove something to the ones that are in your circle that love you already, then I think that's where you have some disconnect. And so trying to recruit the kind of guys that are more likely to be receptive to that.
Of the new guys, what have you seen from Eli Ellis so far, and what is he going to bring to the table his freshman year?
Well, I mean, so far I've seen Eli doing Eli stuff, and I say that in all the best ways. He's extremely competitive, incredibly competitive. That's probably the understatement of the year, and he does that in a way where he channels it in a manner that allows him to then be a productive player, a more productive player because of it. So he's a hard worker. For a young guy, he just is really confident in what he does. And so, like offensively, he just some guys when they shoot, even when they shoot often, it seems like they're shooting a whole lot. He can, and this happens from time to time. Some guys just can find a shot without searching for a shot, if that makes any sense. And so he's a very unselfish guy also, but he's confident in his abilities. And so just trying to get him to learn what we're looking for from an offensive, trying to generate offense for others. And then as a byproduct, there'll be plenty of offense for him as well.
Obviously, a lot of talk going into this fall is going to be talk about 11 new players. I think I heard you say somewhere before you don't think of it as like, that's the day and age, all these new players. You actually relish it. So what's it been like from your perspective as a coach with all these new players? How has that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, but I think I'm on record probably saying this, that this is my favorite part. My favorite part of this whole job is the relationships and the development of players. It's by far my favorite part of this job. So, well, where does that happen? When you got a lot of teaching to do, and then you got a lot of new faces. You got 11 guys. So when it was flipped and you only had maybe 3 or 4 new guys, you taught pretty much the same things, and then there was a lot of carryover from the older guys teaching it to the younger guys. Now you have to do a lot of the teaching and a lot of the demonstrating to 11 new guys. And so it's a challenge, but it's a type of thing that, I think if you're in this, the longer you're in this, you like that kind of thing. You like that kind of a challenge in teaching and guys that want to learn. And, there's so much learning that's going on already. You see guys locked into what you're saying and trying their hardest to do what they've been taught and be willing to fail and all that kind of stuff. So all that gets wrapped up into this whole thing that I call development. And to me, that's still a big part of what this job is, developing guys as players, developing them as humans, developing them as employees one day for somebody. It's been challenging, but I've been looking forward to this. I've been waiting for this. These last couple of weeks couldn't have gotten here soon enough for me and for my staff. We really enjoy this part of it.
Hey, Coach. You mentioned developing being your favorite part of the job. Coming off their first season, South Carolina, what have you seen from Jordan Butler and Cam Scott this summer, and kind of what do you expect of them what do you expect out of them?
Yeah, these are two guys that are still learning how to impact a basketball game positively at this level. Everyone learns at a different rate. You can't force the learning to happen any faster. When the training wheels came off when I was a little guy, I'm sure my parents probably thought it would have happened a lot earlier. And it probably took me a long time to get the training wheels to come off. But you can't make it happen because you try to force it. And so just allowing these guys to be in situations to learn and to learn what competing looks like and to learn what defending at this level looks like for a team that's going to win a lot of games versus I think there's in this culture there's a lot of, okay, it's my turn now because that guy graduated. And regardless of what the outcome of what our team ends up doing, whether we win or we lose, it's my turn to be the guy that now plays those 25 minutes. And so flipping the switch from that mentality to, okay, this is what we've done in the past. We've won a lot of games. How do I, now that it is my turn, how do I impact our team's ability to do the same thing? And so just learning. I think they're just learning and trying to improve on their individual skills and learning what really competing at this level on a winning team really looks like.
Back to Cam for a minute. You know, it took him a little bit longer than maybe some of the other guys to go into the portal, and then, you know, he came back out of it. You know, what are the conversations like? What can you share at least about those times and trying to figure out what his next steps are, guiding him, trying to bring him back, or what's kind of your role in all that, and what gives you confidence that it can kind of come together for everybody to be back on the same page?
Yeah, I mean, we just, we had a lot of conversations with him and his group, and, we're here to support and help and teach and believe. Obviously, we still have a lot of belief in Cam. It's a funny world that we live in. I talked to Nigel Hayes the day before yesterday, who was a really good player for us at Wisconsin, and in Nigel's same recruiting class, we had a guy by the name of Vito Brown, who hardly played at all as a freshman and as a sophomore. And then he was a starter for a Sweet 16 team as a junior, and he was a starter for a Sweet 16 team as a senior. And that was his path. And like, everyone's path is different. Everyone's timeline is different. So that's the only reason why we're asking this, is because there was some sort of ranking and there was an expectation that someone has of what Cam Scott should be able to do, right? And that's perpetuated by an article that someone writes, or an ESPN ranking, or whatever that does. And then there's real life. That's a day-to-day, like, okay, the ball got thrown in the air, and then what are you good at doing, and what do you need to learn how to do better? And that's where every young guy has to go through that, right? And where Colin Murray Boyles, it's a perfect example. I don't know what's Colin's was rankings when he was ready right away. I mean, right away to impact winning on a team that was experienced and really good. And some guys have more work to do. And so Cam's still trying to figure that out, like any normal young person. A lot of young people have to do that. So his timeline is his timeline. When he's ready, he's ready. It could be today. It also could be tomorrow, or whenever that is. We're here to support and to teach. I like it. I like teaching. I've said that. And so we continue to believe in him and all the guys that are on our roster. That's why they're here.
Okay, comments of Lamont Paris. It's a do-over. It's a do-over for Paris. It's a do-over for the basketball program with 11 newcomers, and maybe a healthy Miles Studi and major development by Butler and Scott will make all the difference. We'll be back. Chad Holbrook.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We're clear this evening with a low temperature dipping down to 73. Tomorrow, blazing hot. 100 as the high to go with a feels like of 108. Mostly sunshine-filled skies, and the heat continues all week long. Highs in the upper 90s throughout the weekend. Our best chance of rain, late afternoon on Wednesday. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Are you ready to have a boatload of fun this spring? Sail on down to your local Palmetto State Armory store and deck yourself out in our new lifestyle t-shirts, hats, and fishing shirts. Seize the day with brands like Hey Dudes, Costa, Turtle Box, Local Boy, and more. Our selection of rifles, pistols, and shotguns is sure to impress. So don't be left fishing for something to wear once the warmer weather has arrived. Check out one of our 9 retail locations or PalmettoStateArmory.com to outfit your next adventure.
Attack. This is an SRN News special report, a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Donald Trump has announced that Israel and Iran have agreed to a complete and total ceasefire. He says the deal came soon after Iran launched a limited missile attack on a U.S. military base in Qatar, retaliating for the American bombing of its nuclear sites. The Israeli military declined to comment on Trump's statement, and the office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did not immediately respond to a message seeking comment. There was also no immediate comment from Iran. There were no U.S. casualties from the attack Monday on the base in Qatar, and Iran indicated that it was prepared to step back from rising tensions in the region. Again, a ceasefire has been announced by President Trump. This is SRN News.
Lots of plumbing companies out there. Few are truly local. Time to discover the difference with Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. See, when I faced plumbing woes at the Cohen home, Josh and his dedicated team, well, they were my go-to solution. They make a commitment to exceptional service. They arrived on time, clearly detailed all the costs and procedures, and efficiently handled all my repairs without any surprises. These days, how often do we complain about a lack of customer service out there? With Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, these folks are professional. They're courteous. They're skilled at what they do, and they've earned my trust, and they've earned my recommendation to you. From urgent repairs to the tankless water heater you've always wanted, they've got you covered. Visit franklinplumbing.sc.com or call 799-2222. That's 799-2222. Hey, you tell them Kev sent you from The Point. I'm pretty sure you'll want to thank me later.
Step on the comfort and style with Floor Boys. Imagine plush carpets underfoot, sleek hardwood reflecting sunlight, or luxurious vinyl plank elevating your kitchen. Each step in our showroom unlocks new possibilities, blending your vision with our expertise. Our experienced team guides you from inspiration to flawless installation, making the process easy and enjoyable. Visit us on North Lake Drive or book a complimentary in-home estimate. Explore endless flooring options and fall in love with your space only at floorboys.com.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hey y'all, it's Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We're introducing Friday Night Prime Rib Special. Our great chefs at Flight Deck Restaurant have created a great prime rib dinner special, which includes a 10-ounce slow-roasted certified Angus beef prime rib dinner, served with 2 sides of your choice for only $22.95. And if you mention We Love Flight Deck, you get a free cookie or a soft drink with your meal. So come see us at Flight Deck Restaurant to enjoy a delicious slow-roasted prime rib dinner. While you're here, check out the new and improved arcade with over 33 games. We at Flight Deck Restaurant thank you, and God bless.
Do you crave growth for your business? That's where The Point comes in. Fran Halloran here. Kevin Cohen and the other local hosts like me have worked to create a space where listeners transform into family. Are you a local business aiming for the stars? You need to get with Kevin and let him help create an individualized blueprint for your growth using the influential stage of The Point Radio. Reach out directly at 563-8558. Teaming with The Point, make this year extraordinary.
And I didn't stop there, I swear. From the time I wake up to the time I lay down, it's the devil's playground everywhere that I look. Swear it's there in my blood, I was born to be lost. A lot of lines that I crossed, little more than I should.
All right, one more trip around the bases. And you know what? I'm hoping next year that Chad Holbrook is not available to do this kind of segment with us. I'm hoping he's coaching the Cougars in the College World Series.
That'd be awesome.
Welcome in the coach of the College of Charleston. How about that? How about you trade this job for coaching in the College World Series next year?
Yeah, that would be a good trade. No offense, but yeah, it'll be fun. It will be. Hopefully, we can get over that hump. We've been knocking on the door a little bit and having good regular seasons, and been falling a little bit short in the postseason, either on our own accord or the committee being uneducated. So it's a little bit of both, and so hopefully we'll we won't leave it up to anybody to make a decision next year, and stay in the fight and knock on the door and try to keep advancing and get in the regional.
Is there anybody in the CAA next year who'll have arms like Northeastern did this past season?
I hope we do. They were great. Honestly, they were great. It was kind of surprising, honestly, that they didn't play a little bit better in the NCAA tournament. I thought they were one of the better teams that we played all year, and I'm not saying they were better than Coastal by any stretch, but when you played them and you played Coastal, you felt like they were both extremely elite teams, and so hopefully we have a few guys coming back and they can continue to improve and get better and get stronger in the fall, and hopefully we can have a formidable pitching staff. But our league's sneaky good for a mid-major league. When you got Northeastern and UNC Wilmington, and Elon's pretty good from time to time, and and you throw us in there and we're pretty good from time to time, and obviously Northeastern. So our work's cut out for us each and every week. So hopefully we'll have a good season, put a good team on the field.
Well, it was going to take a team with a special group of arms to beat the arms that Coastal Carolina has, and obviously LSU was that team. What did you make of the two games? We'll talk about the issue in the first inning in a moment yesterday, but just the two games. Boy, they had their chance, I guess, on Saturday. Not winning that one really put them up against it yesterday.
Well, yeah, losing a one-run game is tough. Anytime you lose game one, it's a tall order for sure, especially against that pitching staff. They were really, really, really electric on the mound. But I think Coastal was pretty daggum good too, And if you'd have said they'd only give up one run in the first game, you'd have took your chances. They'd have found a way to score, So it's just it was two even. I'll say this: it was two evenly matched teams. With elite pitching staffs, and it came down to who played better at the right time and who made the big pitches at the right time and who got the big hits at the right time. And there's no doubt LSU kind of capitalized on all those aspects, and they also played great defense too. So they're a complete team. I mean, they have maybe the first pick in the draft. Starting game one, they have another first rounder to get the last 3 to 6 outs of every game, and heck, their game 2 starters probably going in the first round as well. So they got a bunch of big leaguers on that team, and their shortstop might be one of the best college players in the country. So it's a well balanced, really, really elite team. And but you got to give Coastal Carolina credit. They had an incredible run, and their pitching staff I thought was every bit as good. And they just LSU just pitched it a little bit better, and when they went head to head. And you got to tip your cap to LSU. They're one of the giants, if not the giant of college baseball, and they're tough to beat. And when you get their fans in that stadium, and it was like a home game for them. And but I thought going in they were two evenly matched teams, and after watching the two games, I still feel the same way. LSU just made the big pitches and the big plays at the right time.
Yeah. Talking with Chad Holbrook, coach of the College of Charleston. All right, so the bottom of the first. First of all, tell us from the dugout, from your position as a head baseball coach in college baseball, what you cannot do with the umpires with balls and strikes and check swings and hit by pitches, and then what you saw out there on Sunday afternoon.
I'm pro coach. I am a coach, so I'm gonna defend Coach Schnall. In a game like that, umpires have to understand emotions are high. Everything's on the line, and it was really, really disappointing that we're not talking about some really, really great baseball players and some two great teams, and we're going to spend the majority of our time talking about an umpire who has a history of having some of those moments and in his professional career. And I'm not saying he was totally in the wrong. I'm not saying Coach Schnall didn't say something that might deserve most occurrences in most games to be thrown out of the game. But the first inning of the national championship game, I think it's an umpire's job to not be the story in a game like that. It's an umpire's job to diffuse the emotions, be an adult calm everybody down, because livelihoods are on the line in many respects. These umpires, they have jobs. And we have to understand that as coaches too. They don't. It's not their full-time gig. However, there's some unwritten rules in baseball that I felt like, and I know umpire, that were broken in that game. The coach should be given the benefit of doubt when the stakes are that high, and I think an umpire's job in those type of situations is to not only umpire the game, but to also calm the emotions down, diffuse them, talk as an adult, keep emotions in check, and he did. He threw gas on the fire, in my opinion, and it led to the to an unfortunate incident in a national championship baseball game where it should be about the players, and instead it became about the umpire, and that's not right. And I just, an umpire's job is not to be the story of the game, and it seems like there's been a little bit of a history in that gentleman being a story of a game. I think he threw out Canarella a couple years ago in a regional game in Clemson. You were probably there at that one, and I don't know if this is true or not. I hadn't researched it, but through the grapevine and through the coaching circles and my fellow colleagues, we had heard he was dismissed from professional baseball for instances like that, and that's just disappointing that he would be behind the plate and cause another incident like that. And one thing, Phil, that wasn't talked about that I really kind of had a problem with was, I got so mad, honestly, as a coach that in the third inning, that first inning bothered me so much. It was tough for me to watch it because I know the work that goes in, and I know how hard it is to get there, and I know the work that goes in to get yourself in that position, and then boom, you get there, and you miss 8 innings of maybe the biggest game of your career as a coach. That's just tough. But the thing that bothered me too was the NCAA, I think, put out a statement about a 2-game suspension, and then Coach Schnall after the game said something about the umpire raising his hand up and putting 2 up after the umpire fell down.
Yeah.
And and he said 2 games contact with another umpire, which didn't occur. And then the NCAA put out something that contradicted the umpire on the field. Said, no, it's a 2-game suspension for a prolonged argument. But that's not what the umpire on the field said. So, yeah, it's just it was a bunch of at the end of the day, people knew it was an emotional moment. It was a controversial moment. And a lot of people tried to, cover their rear ends, I think, with some of the explanations. And as a coach, I think that made it worse.
Coach, I don't want to belabor this point, but I am fascinated by the whole setup as a head coach. I know in men's basketball in particular, just having covered the sport as long as I have, coaches have an opportunity to, for lack of a better term, that they don't want working their games. Do you guys have that luxury in college baseball? And could Kevin Snell say, look, I do not want to have Angel Campos work another game as long as I'm the head coach at Coastal Carolina?
Well, he can say that all he wants, and you can usually have to request those type of things in the off season. Mm-hmm. But I'll say this, it's a dicey situation, and here's why I bring that up. Coach Ten, this is coming from. I think I was educated on relationships with umpires by the best. Coach Tanner was the best at it, and he always said, when those umpires walk in on our field, they need to know they're going to be treated with respect, and it's going to be a professional environment, and they're not going to walk on eggshells, and they're going to be relaxed and be able to call the game to the best of their ability. That's what I want the umpires to feel like when they walk on our field. Coach always spoke about that. He also spoke about the blacklist thing would never creep into his mind. Us coaches are paranoid. So if you throw that out there and you're going to blacklist umpire, he's not umpiring one of our games. Well, then there's about 30 other umpires that are buddies with that one umpire you just blacklisted, and they're going to rush to his defense and say, well, that's not right. That's unethical. And then those 30 are going to be against you. So you have to be very, very careful with that. And you have to also be very careful. And Coach Tanner taught me this. Coaches, we're given, we're allowed to evaluate umpires. In fact, we're encouraged or even requested or even mandated that you request that you evaluate the umpires after each series. And we have a hard time dealing with that because if you're critical to an umpire, you just feel like he's going to come back to you, either through that umpire, because somebody goes, "Hey, Coach Tanner said you stunk," and well, okay, I'll show Coach Tanner. Or you know what I mean? So it's best to take the high road, keep your mouth shut, and let the umpires try to be pros. Now, when something like that happened yesterday, I don't know if they'll be able to be on the same field anymore going forward. I don't think that's going to be right for the game either. But cooler heads will prevail down the road. But I hope, and I'm not going to say I hope Coach Schnall learns from it because I don't think he did anything wrong. I hope that the umpire at some point says, you know what, this isn't right. This game is about the players, those two teams on the field battling for a national championship. It shouldn't be about me, and I made it about me. And that was I hate to be that critical, but that's how I saw it. And and I think an umpire's job is in many instances to diffuse situations like that and not make them so calm people down because they have to understand that emotions are going to be high in a game like that.
College of Charleston head baseball coach Chad Holbrook with us, wrapping up the College World Series between LSU and Coastal Carolina. And, Coach, sort of a big picture question for you now that we've hit the off season. I know the big topic now on the men's basketball side is we've got to expand the NCAA tournament again because we don't have enough SEC and ACC teams in there now. College baseball, the way the format is set up, it's so unique. I don't know if you can. You don't have quite as many baseball programs as you do basketball programs. But is there talk about possibly adding an additional set of teams to the NCAA baseball tournament in the future?
I think coaches would be for it big time, especially now with the NIL and a lot of those funds going to Power Fours, which is creating a little bit more of an unbalanced type of situation. I would hope they will look at increasing it, and I think it could be strategically increased, like they did with basketball and having that Tuesday night game. Kinds of things can be done with baseball as well. I don't think there's a perfect scenario, but a Wednesday game somewhere at a neutral site with some regional teams that are, 2-3 seeds, 2 potential 3 seeds battling it out. I would have loved last year when we were 41-14 and had won 29 of our last 33 and had won our league regular season championship. I would have loved to have had an opportunity to play in one of those play-in games, And even though certainly felt like we deserved to be in outright, but so I think there's some situations in which it can be expanded and not necessarily having to throw 8, 10, 12 teams into it. I think you could make a case that there's a couple regionals, pick a couple spots, and have 4 teams or 6 teams or so play each other in 3 regionals across the country and expand it a bit. But that's not for me to decide. That's over my pay grade. But I'll say this about the college baseball tournament. It is one of the most watched NCAA events. And I think, honestly, it's right behind basketball and right behind the Bowl Championship Series. But, yes, they get to play 2 weeks out there. But as far as tickets sold and amount of attendance, it's extremely popular, and the NCAA does very, very well with that baseball tournament, and I hope they'll look at it because I think there's a lot of good baseball players out there, and I think there's some teams that have been left out that are deserving to have that opportunity.
Great stuff from you. Before we let you go, the news came out today. Ray Tanner, Kip Balknight from South Carolina, Chris Benson from Clemson. But in particular for you in this discussion, Ray Tanner and Kip Balknight selected for the College Baseball Hall of Fame. What do you think about that? First 2 Gamecocks selected.
Well, I mean, obviously, Kip being a Golden Spikes guy, and he was pitching. I recruited Kip when I was at North Carolina, and obviously had an incredible career. And I wasn't able to witness it, but I heard the stories of how tough he was and how he competed and obviously all of his accomplishments. And so it's big time congratulations to Kip. But I don't think I can hold anybody in more higher regard than Coach Tanner for the opportunities that he gave me. What we were able to experience in the same dugout together is something that no one can ever take away from me selfishly, but I got to see how good he is on a daily basis, how he treats people, how he motivates and coaches his teams, how he handles situations in game when things get tight, how he includes every single person in our dugout. There's so many things, I was talking about umpires and had to talk about how Coach Tanner, really gifted in the coach-umpire relationship as well. I mean, there's nothing I do daily that doesn't have Coach Tanner's fingerprints all over it. And, I owe him the shirt off my back for sure. He's been a Hall of Famer in my book long before today, but this kind of cements it. I think he's the best, and big congratulations to Coach Tanner and his family.
Well, we can't thank you enough. I mean, how many coaches in this state could we get to come on every week to talk about another team in the state, a rival team? I'm like, man, but that just says that's character. That talks about your character, not to mention your baseball knowledge and your knowledge of these teams. We thank you so much. You have been wonderful. Hope you have a great summer. And, man, we do want you to be busy next June, not available for us, okay?
We're going to work hard at it, but I really appreciate you, Phil, one, having me on, but two, all you've done and continue to do for college baseball, because, I worked in another state where, sometimes your scores weren't even in the newspaper, and you carried the mantle in many ways in regards to college baseball, and it's always been out front, and it's always been the headline news between Clemson, South Carolina, and Coastal Carolina, and you always include me, little old College of Charleston down here, and we appreciate it. Our players appreciate it, and college baseball appreciates the way you cover the sport. And but thanks for having me on, and we appreciate you as well.
Thank you so much. We are grateful for you for being with us. Have a great summer. Enjoy having your son there to work with him, and we will see you sometime later on this year.
Thanks so much, Phil. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Chad Holbrook, head coach, College of Charleston. Thank him so much for being with us.
Oh, absolutely. He was great.
Oh, my
really
gosh.
Awesome.
I mean, he knows his stuff. As we go to the break, I want to update Jim Toman. Got an update from his daughter, Caroline. And the update is as follows. Here we go. Last week, Jim completed his second week of radiation and chemotherapy treatments. Although they had to spend a night in the ER due to complications, fairly common with someone with this condition, they were able to go on an ice cream run and visit some thrift stores.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years. I don't charge 40% for your injury in your wreck case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett, or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. Jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
One lottery ticket makes a big difference for our state students. And when I say big, I mean bigger than jackpot big. Since 2002, South Carolina students have benefited from more than $6 billion in lottery-funded scholarships and grants, including the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. With every lottery play, you're supporting our students, and that adds up in a big way. That's why education is our middle name. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Again on Jim Toman, I'm sorry we had to squeeze it in there as the break was hitting. Just another update again from his daughter. Last week, he completed his second week of radiation and chemotherapy treatments. And Carolina's daughter wrote, although we spent a night in the ER due to complications fairly common to someone with my father's condition, we were able to make an ice cream run and visit a few thrift stores. My father is very grateful for all the support as he begins his third round of treatments this week. Let's continue to stand by Storm. And they do have a GoFundMe page for Jim Toman. Stand by Storm. Stand by Storm. They've raised over $38,000. So if you're interested in helping out this very difficult and sad situation that just breaks your heart to hear that they're going through that, but we'll stay on top of it as best we can. Appreciate Caroline keeping us and others in the loop with what's going on with his dad. I mean, obviously Chad Holbrook was part of that same Gamecock family. I don't think, of course, Jim coached with Chad down at the College of Charleston. I don't think they coached together at USC. I think that when Toman left, I think that's when Chad was hired at South Carolina, if my memory is correct on that. Let's do well, I do have a couple of other quick little recruiting items that popped up over the past couple of minutes, so let me mention this. Paul Strelo, Tiger Illustrated, reported that defensive tackle Keyshawn Stansel of Clayton, North Carolina, will announce on Saturday. He was at NC State over the weekend, and the Wolfpack appears to be strong with him as well. He also visited Georgia, Miami, and Penn State. And taking a look at his Instagram page, Keyshawn Stansel, he was at NC State over the weekend. He has NC State University listed under his name. I don't know if that was for location or how he's identifying himself, but he posted this on Instagram the other day. I saw this. Somebody wrote a story about it, so I went and checked it out. This is what he wrote on his Instagram, quote, "I seen a bum commit to UNC, then Bill Belichick called. I felt played, so I went to the owners being NC State." Now, I don't know if that meant I went to go visit NC State or I've committed to NC State or whatever. But
that's great.
How about that? I seen a bum commit to UNC, then Bill called. I felt played, so I went to the owners.
The owners. Oh, that's awesome.
If he ends up in Raleigh facing North Carolina like that, that will come up. And one more. Blake Stewart, Clemson target safety, has announced July 13th for his commitment. Clemson, Michigan, Miami, and Vanderbilt. His final ones at this particular point, coming off an official visit for him. Let's see. Let me double check and see where he was this past weekend. I think he was at Michigan this past weekend. Yes, he was. So he is set for July 13th. So we'll be keeping a close watch on that as we go over the next couple of weeks. A lot of announcements coming up over the next couple of weeks. Well, we didn't get to the NIL churns, nor did we get to the freshman question of the night. We were so busy. We can do all that tomorrow night, Bergie.
I think we need to. And, I was asking Coach Holbrook about expansion of the NCAA baseball tournament. I think you and I are both under the agreement that just leave it alone. But I remember Butch Thompson, the head coach at Auburn, saying during the Coastal Supers that he'd like to see them go to more a 2 out of 3 super regional format throughout the tournament because it's more like the regular season.
Have a great night. See you tomorrow.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with